clouding his judgment too much and allowing him to learn from his mistakes.
Yes. Up against che0nsu will be faced against a rogue on the other side because Tom himself is not packing the rogue. Instead, he has a very standard lineup from what we've seen of most players. Of course, Warrior and Demon Hunter, but also Quest Lock and Spell Druid. I feel that we haven't seen Tom on stream very recently, and so this Quest Lock play from him is not something that I've gotten to evaluate yet.
Yeah, I can't really remember getting to see too much of it from him. It does seem like the kind of deck that he could be in a pretty good spot to do well with, and I'm actually pretty interested taking a look at his Druid deck here, which I haven't got to see so far. And it is actually the kind of modern hybrid version of Druid. I wonder who in the kind of practice groups was sharing this amongst the players, because the first time I saw it was, I think, probably after deck submission, or at the very least right close to deck submission for this week for the Asia-Pacific players, when Ball Control was playing it just a couple of nights ago.
It's quite possible that these players even came up with the lists independently, just did their own testing, try to figure out how to innovate on this list, and they quickly decided that Emerald Explorer is actually the only dragon that you really want to see, and anything else is probably too heavy for a deck that runs Fungal Fortunes. But in terms of innovation, of course, we talked about che0nsu's Rogue with the Questing Adventurers. That's got to be useful in that matchup as well.
Yeah, and one matchup I think it's going to have to be proving useful in is up against the Warlock, which is going to be our first matchup of the series. Tom, we're going to get to see him on that Quest Warlock, which we always love seeing the different players bring their own unique twist to the playstyle of the deck. But I wondered, yeah, if the Questing Adventurers will be able to add that little bit of extra punch to bring Rogue into a good position in this matchup, where I feel generally they're a bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's really tough because when Rogue goes for the questing turn, make no mistake, it is all in. They're often throwing away backstabs, preps, shadow steps for very little value. It's only really the Pharaoh Cat that you want to be shadow stepping that actually refills your hand that early. And so if the Rogue's one questing gets answered, say if the Druid has a very fortunate, or the Warlock has a fortunate way to remove that, pretty disastrous.
Pretty decent to get things going for Tom. And che0nsu, we know he's a player who, at least up against the Hunter, liked keeping the secrets, but it seems like here he is instead going for a slightly more mid-game focused plan by keeping the Togwaggle. That is something I really like the look of in this matchup.
Completely agree. Definitely want to find some way to cheese out the Warlock with a lot of mana cheat, getting down a big Edwin out of Dark Sky's range or a big questing is helped along a lot by the wand. But I wonder if there's some situations where you can just take Crown in this matchup.
It's definitely an interesting proposition. You have to know, you have to time it correctly, because if you're taking and playing Crown going into turn 8, that is generally, I think, not going to work out for you, because you then playing straight into Twisting Nether. Generally, I think you definitely are just going for the Wondrous Wand, because especially with a hand like this, where you have a couple of invokes, you just want to find Galakron and Kronks.
Absolutely. Premium draw there for che0nsu with the dirty tricks, because Tom, if he wants to be dealing with the Hanar, is going to have to play a spell, and that helps che0nsu cycle ever closer to those crucial cards you mentioned.
Of course it's the right way.
Ooh. Ooh. That is an interesting proposition.
Is, but can't quite get that much stat gain without a Shadow Step. I don't think it would be large enough to play around Dark Skies, and therefore probably not enough reason to invest into it.
Raise another one good enough here, apparently, for Tom, even though it still leaves up the Hanar. Everything else, if it was the Dark Skies, things could have gone wrong, I believe, with a Never Surrender, so it does make sense to go for this line.
Give me a quest.
We could see che0nsu go for the questing now and bounce back this Crazed Netherwing, which will overdraw Tom.
I really like the thinking with this line here for che0nsu. I wonder, though, if it should have been a Lackey instead of the Pharaoh Cat there in order to set up for Togwaggle. But None of that really matters here in the face of what che0nsu was able to overdraw there for Tom.
It was huge, and we saw che0nsu's reaction. I'm, getting hyped up by watching che0nsu react. You can see how happy he is and how much it means to him. And he just got that questing crucially out of range of the Crazy Netherwing coming back on the backswing.
Yeah.
And now gets to buff it up even more.
And I guess this is the reason to not go for the Draconic Lackey, because you are expecting the Netherwing on the backswing. It's, I mean, if it does happen, though, of course, you're pretty happy, because you can get some very powerful plays rolling. Buff up.
Whoa!
Wow.
Evolve
the questing.
well.
Get a huge 5-drop and still set up for Togwaggle next turn.
Oh my gosh.
Oh! Gets a taunt? That also gains him 4 armor when it dies? That's pretty good.
Yes. It just protects the questing from dying straight up to the Crazed Netherwing, which is huge. Tom, as far as information on secrets, knows that it's not ambush, so he knows the rogue secret is dirty tricks, but paladin secret he only has tested for repentance, I believe.
Man, just look at what this means
And
for che0nsu. Yes, redemption as well. He's popping off every single turn. Love the shadow step.
Here.
Yeah, I want to see him hold it as well, obviously, to set up for Togwaggle next turn.
Oh. Wow. Just wants that extra damage right now from the questing. Tom's at 8. When did that happen?
I mean, I guess he's just got Wrapped Golem for, like, if he wants to keep the pressure rolling.
Okay.
I'm clearly looking at Dark Skies here, of course, as the kind of best option here for Tom. But then again, che0nsu has the Never Surrender, right? So maybe that wouldn't even work out.
Well, trade and then...
So many possibilities.
So the Never Surrender after the trade adds 6 to the board. Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. Doesn't quite fit. So we could look at Nether Breath, then Dark Skies. Oh man. That is 13. Not sure if it quite fits there, but yeah, this is just cleaner from Tom, right?
Yeah, this allows for a full board clear and a little bit of heal along the way.
Very well spotted from him.
Oh, prep here is insane as well to go with the wand next turn. che0nsu just needs to try and find a way to set up for it as best as possible.
Problem if he goes Twilight Drake Miscreant is he overdraws, I think. Oh no, he doesn't.
He'd be at exactly 9, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I mean, I was looking, first of all, at the Evasive Feywing just as a decent answer to this board.
But with the draw of prep, I do agree that looks like he definitely wants to get a Lackey in hand.
Well, he could have still gone with the Praise Galakron as well.
On the Netherwing? Yeah. Because you can't target the Evasive.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gonna start with card draw for Tom here. Makes a lot of sense. He really wants the Moarg to double the Nether healing. Just that little bit short of dealing with the Twilight Drake.
Right into my trap.
So awkward. It's just like the 9/9 Abyssal Summoner.
Right. I mean, he's lost Alexstrasza, right? So the actual burn plan becomes a little bit harder to initiate. So there's some reason, I think, here to throw out, like, Soulfire. But then I guess he's still losing a minion, right?
Wow, that trade is surprising
Just
to me from
tanking the
Tom.
5.
I was wondering if he just shoots the ambush instead and maintains his 5/5. But
Is
here,
it that worth it to hold on to the Soulfire here?
especially since the next turn is Nether anyway.
Yeah.
I can get behind leaving 1 minion, but I don't know about that trade.
This, however, for che0nsu is absolutely absurdly powerful.
Oh!
Oh!
Has to be careful though. Twisting Nether, ever-present threat.
Problem is, of course, that he's overdrawing, which maybe means he just throws down the Edwin anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so excited at Colossus of the Moon. Chonsu's adorable here. Like-
I mean, it's pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah. Not next turn, but he just has threat chains because of the quality of the Pharaoh cats he's gotten. So Wrap Golem pack tactics.
That's an interesting idea.
On the wings of evil.
I mean, here for che0nsu, the name of the game is just develop the biggest board you can every turn. He's got so many threats here. And with the Alexstrasza gone, the burn plan is looking tentative at best.
Yeah, Tom has not hit the plot twists. He can't even
Well,
get...
now he has.
Okay. Very important here. Gets him quest completion. Tap for a 0-cost card.
Also, could just hit
Could be
Kelodan.
huge.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Rain of Fire Dark Skies is a clear. Is it a clear? It's not. Oh, a little bit short.
It would be 9, right? So we'd have to, like, tap first, which means he couldn't get in the Mortal Coil. And he'd be tanking another 7 damage at least.
Almost out of time.
Wow!
Wow.
Okay. Alright, I cannot get over che0nsu's reactions. He is visibly recoiling and wincing.
Oh my god.
But he's still in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in just a very good position, I think. Colossus of the Moon is tempting, of course, on this turn, but I think he may just have some slightly stronger lines with, like, Dragon Rider. Or just Kronks.
Yeah, it starts to get scary where Zephyrus is nearly or almost nearly active for Tom.
Right.
And so you don't really just want to spend your turn playing something that gets hexed or polymorphed.
Good point. And the other consideration for che0nsu is he needs to wonder, do I have an answer to Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, which must also be becoming active soon. So he needs to try and set up lethal in the face of that.
Still a pretty decent turn of development. Oh, Rush Lackey. Actually, I'm looking at the taunt one here because
Same.
the Goblin Lackey is so useful with Kronks, right?
Yeah, good point.
Kronks on its own, if it's just drawing for Galakron, tends to be a very slow turn, but you can make up for the tempo lost by immediately rushing it a lot of the time.
And there it is. Active Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, active Zephyrus as well, should Tom
Huge.
need.
Enough space in hand to just slam the Alexstrasza, get both dragons, right?
Alternatives being he could start with... Start with the Abyssal Summoner, then go Zephyrus to hit... There's not really any good answers on 2 mana. I mean, he could Shadow Word Death
Or
that.
death, yeah.
Yeah.
This is my suggestion.
This gives him Black Knight? Okay.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've seen Zephyrus for that.
Is that better than developing an Abyssal Summoner on this turn? It gets him a tap-in on this turn, obviously, which is a nice upside.
My question is that better than getting him 3 dragons?
Fair
that
enough.
turn?
Also very fair.
It's this point where pre-Galakron, you don't have to be scared of them cheesing out lethal through Kronkses that
Yeah.
I would have liked to see Tom take that window to go aggressive. Granted, this is still an
Yeah.
annoying board for che0nsu.
Is nigh.
Oh, it's not even fully invoked yet? How?
That was just the sound of privilege from every Galakron rogue player you've ever seen. Rashlaki is useful for cleaning up here for che0nsu. He could rush out the rush out the Blackjack Stunner to trade into Zephyrus, and backstab trade the Lackey into Caladan. Push the rest face.
Makes sense. You've got to be trying to go aggressive here. Basically, the plan is as much as possible, I think, just try and lock out Alexstrasza from being a valid option every single turn.
My hand is too
So this again builds a board that's awkward for just Craze Netherwing, but I think Tom did the math.
right into my trap.
I sure hope he did. And,
Yeah.
I mean, this looks like a very, very easy clear.
Mm-hmm. That's the fit in a tap as well.
I think he's going with the development instead.
Ah, right. Wow, that all fit in that turn. That's insane.
Pretty insane. West Warlock's one hell of a deck. So only 2 cards actually available here for che0nsu off of the Galakron, and therefore I think he's probably just waiting for that final invoke. He has decent ways to spend his mana for the next few turns. But the problem is, of course, Tom isn't going to be sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He is going to develop Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and get back the Alexstrasza that he discarded earlier on.
Oh my gosh, that is nuts. He even has enough mana for Soulfire to get rid of this ambush.
I don't think he even cares. I think he might just save it to go face.
Yeah, sure. If che0nsu just trades off a 5-4 and an 8-8 with this current board, he has just enough
Valley
damage in
Soulfire,
hand.
yeah.
Oh, complete whiffs for che0nsu. Like, it's too expensive to be played again this turn, even with Shadow Step.
It shows you. It goes to show the Warlock's dominance in this matchup. They just have all the time in the world to cycle through their entire deck and start doing these incredibly powerful swing turns.
It's nuts. che0nsu just seemed like he was so far ahead for 90% of this game.
Alexstrasza is just almost impossible for the Rogue to deal with.
That really is the kicker, isn't it? Well, Tom has to be concerned about freezing trap. But even in the face of that,
However you want to go about it here, it gets the job done, and Tom is going to be going up 1-0. che0nsu came so close to winning the unfavored matchup, and you could see how good of a position he thought that put him in, just by how much it hurts him to be losing this.
man, it just hurts to see how tough of a time Rogue has actually closing out games. They have value for days. They can generate minions to play in the mid game, but so as the opposing deck can just remove turn after turn and stay within a reasonable health total without Leroy, without the eviscerates. It's really tough for Rogue to actually end the game plan. And it's a very salient point because Warlock, we keep saying in other matchups against Druid, against Demon Hunter, it's not enough to just remove. They have to put the pressure back on the other side. But against Rogue, apparently it can just be enough to remove.
Oh yeah, and then at the end, be it Malagos, be it Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, be it Zephyrus, whatever you need, one of those cards will be able to deliver the lethal for you at the final hurdle. So che0nsu, hurts me to say it, but he is going to be down 0-1 versus tom60229. A reminder that the loser of this match will be out of contention for the World Championships later on this year. They will, of course, be joining us next season in Hearthstone Grandmasters to try and fight it out for a chance at redemption. But Tom up 1-0 versus che0nsu. We're going to see if he can go the full distance after this break. Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters for our elimination match here today in Group B. We are trying to find out who our players will be going through to the semi-final match on Sunday. And che0nsu and tom60229 are still in the running, but it's going to be a tough climb for them to get there, especially for che0nsu being one game down here. And he is going to be left with both the Demon Hunter and the Druid for tom60229, which, from my perspective, both look like they're in a reasonable position.
Definitely. I think that Tom is looking to be just taking a couple more wins here. The Druid we mentioned from the Japanese players, the deck is favored against both Highlander Hunter and Rogue of any variant. So Tom, I think, could have a pretty clear path to victory, but I think che0nsu has wanted this more than ever. He's been so focused lately, getting those hours in with the practice, and of course he's going to start off with his best matchup, which is unfortunately a mirror.
Here we go. It's the Demon Hunter mirror, for which che0nsu is excellently teched. As we can see here, there were 2 Blowtorch Saboteurs in the mulligan. Obviously, he's running both of those along with 2 Frozen Shadow Weavers, which, from what we saw in testing, Gia, just looked absolutely primed to take down the matchup single-handedly.
It's just crazy how important disruption is in this matchup, be it in the form of the Blowtorch, Frozen Shadow Weaver, or for some people even Mana Burn. It's just that you're able to lock out so many powerful combinations and key turns from the other side that even if you're doing things like being the first to play, for example, which normally is a death sentence in the matchup if there's a responding glaive bound, if you just have that early tempo from the disruption, you can just run away with it.
Always annoying here for che0nsu to find I-Beam on a turn where it's just not good at all, because you want to play it as soon as possible, lest it just costs 3 mana for the rest of the game. But, I mean, I'm not really seeing much other than just equipping the Umberwing here.
That's right. It's very scary that he did not hit his own Frozen Shadow Weaver here to possibly lock out Satyr Overseer on the other side. But this play from che0nsu, if there is a Satyr Overseer, it allows him a 3/4 to trade down.
Right.
The 2/2 generated.
It's pretty sick, actually, isn't it? Because you can go Umberwing Hero Power to take out the Satyr Overseer itself. Unless Tom has a Twin Slice, he can't take out the Blowtorch Saboteur. I think that was a really cool play.
I like it as well, especially with che0nsu's particular hand that he can just curve this turn 3 with a response into the Warglaives.
Very nicely done.
Tom's own Kayn appears to be the Gut Instinct play, just another on-curve minion. And it's looking like Tom doesn't need to push his hero power button anytime soon.
Yeah, I think he's just pretty happy at the moment. I like that he's saving the Satyr Overseer here because he has the ability to go Warglaives first and then Overseer after. Wow.
Very true, but what a top deck for che0nsu. Not often that you like to see Battle Fiend this late, but it is so effective here. Unlocks the I-Beam, perfect mana utilization, and perfect damage to clear off Kayn. That is satisfying to look at.
And the one really good response here that Tom would have available in the Warglaives is available, comes down, swings back the board, and sets up for the powerful Overseer next turn. We still have a very strong game for both players here, Gia.
Yeah. Back and forth, you love to see it. And che0nsu is not wasting any time responding with the Warglaives against no immediate value. He sets up a huge Kayn.
I love this. I think what this is saying is that, you know, if Tom has the Satyr Overseer, or even if he doesn't, you know, if he's just going with some other game plan here, most of those involve swinging in and killing off the minions with the Warglaives. Good luck with that, taking 6 or even 9 damage potentially off of this Kayn.
Demons?
Well, unfortunately for che0nsu, Tom has Twin Slice to buff up that Warglaives doesn't have to expend the mana from the hero power. But the thing is, it becomes awkward anyway because the only additional benefit of not using hero power is developing the Battle Fiend. But it's fair to note that it's not insignificant. It's also going to get buffed up a lot.
Is Altruist ever consideration on this turn? You can get 2 procs of it, right? Which allows you to only have to tank the Kayn once.
Time grows short.
I guess this is just a bit too powerful of what you're developing here.
Yeah, perhaps the Altruist was strangely too slow there, at least in terms of che0nsu's response. If it's just a Warglaive, che0nsu's really just taking a couple damage. Now, the responding Warglaives for che0nsu is very painful. Okay.
Right, so now 4 damage to face with a hero power after taking out whatever you feel you need to do. And then next turn, Chaos Strike, Glaive Bound. That is just lethal, very easily set up.
Nice and clean for che0nsu, taking out any minions with a threat of snowballing. And Tom needs a miracle in the form of an I-beam.
He needs it in the form of Frozen
Oh,
Shadow
that
Weaver!
too!
Look
Oh
at
my
that!
gosh!
That's insane! That's the single card that just saves him. Oh!
I wasn't thinking big enough with I-beam. That just completely turns the game on its head. Even if Altruist is off the top here, there's not enough to be paired with it. That is GG.
Oh. That is brutal there for che0nsu. I loved the way that he approached that early game by going with the coin blowtorch. It made Tom's life so difficult. And the hero power cost 3 for the entire remainder of the game. But still, Tom, with the absolute dream top deck of the Frozen Shadow Weaver, just shows how powerful it is at any point in the matchup.
Yeah, Blowtorch wishes it could be Frozen Shadow Weaver. Well, not necessarily. The good thing about both those cards is that when I first assessed how people were teching their lists, I thought, isn't there just too much clogging up the 3-drop spot now between the Satyr Overseers, Frozen Shadow Weavers, and Blowtorch Saboteurs? It turns out that both the Shadow Weaver and the Satyr Overseer aren't necessarily 3-drops. You want to play them on a turn where they're most effective. So in the case of Satyr, you want to pair it with a hero power oftentimes. And for the Frozen Shadow Weaver, you want to play it on a turn going into when your opponent has powerful plays. So the benefit of Blowtorch Saboteur is it's just good on curve. And high health in the mirror, always welcome sight.
Ooh, Tom going into the next matchup with the Rogue coming down yet again for che0nsu, has got himself a pretty dreamy starting hand. And again, with the Emerald Explorer in hand, this is the hybrid version, which runs 2 copies of Breath of Dreams as well.
This just looks like a nightmare for Rogue to deal with.
Okay.
I don't remember the last time Rogue felt favored against Druid. It's like last meta definitely wasn't. All the way back to when there was Spreading Plague, it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Galakrond Rogue Quest Druid was like kind of questionable, right? I think it was like fairly even.
Give me a quest.
Oh, I love it from che0nsu. He just rips it. He said, if you're gonna clear this, at least you don't coin the Overgrowth. Of course, Tom has to respect it, but che0nsu got the bad news that even without an Overgrowth blade, there's coin Glowfly available next turn.
Because he hit the Glowfly Swarm, because he hit the Fungal Fortunes. Like, it's just everything that could go right for Tom is going right for him. And even with the flick in hand for che0nsu, it's just too slow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, che0nsu has a shot at getting Flame Ward. That's the best I can think of for him right now.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's one shot. If he wants and doesn't believe, the Bone Wraith in theory lines up pretty well against the board. You're not respecting buffs, but
yeah,
you could just go Bone Wraith Backstab.
The problem is that he could start with like the Secret, because then that still allows him to go Seal Fate. Yeah, but in the end, I see your point. It just lines up so well.
I mean, if che0nsu can weather the storm for 3 more turns, okay, it sounds ridiculous when I say that. He's got Crocs, but oh my gosh.
I mean, what do you even do here? He's got Soul of the Forest if he wants it. He could just trade everything and go Glowfly again. He could just ramp. I mean, everything is good here.
It really is. I'm looking at the ramp because Bog Beam, double Iron Park.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing you're weak to here is flick, and so you don't want to play into that, which both Soul of the Forest and the second Glowfly do.
Yeah, I was looking at Overgrowth instead, but sure, he gets the buff in if he uses the Breath of Dreams. Picks up a Mount Seller. Hello?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is weak to the flick, which is the only play available for che0nsu, but Tom shakes his head. He's like, yeah, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. Bring it on. I got the best follow-up. Tom's about to pop off.
Only the finest creatures.
He's like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter that I can't kill it. I always summon the Griffin here.
Tom's list is cutting one Savage Roar. Worth note. So maybe che0nsu has time with this Galakron to set up a Kronk swing.
Okay, maybe.
Very tenuous maybe. The alternative is, of course, just Secret and bounce the Mount Seller right now. That seems a lot more level-headed.
Yeah, it does bring his Galakron, I believe, up to level 2 as well, instead of just level 1. Or is that no invokes at all so far?
I don't think he's invoked.
Yeah, no, you're right, I think.
So instead of Seal Fate, we could see Miscreant coming down alongside the Secret and Blackjack Stunner.
Okay.
And then he could play a Lackey.
Oh, the problem is that you're just delaying the inevitable by going for Blackjack Stunner. The fact that it can just come down, just be played again next turn, even if there's no spells to go along with it, is just disastrous.
Yeah. Could hope to be a god with a pressure plate. Deathwing? Okay.
Okay, so the name of the game now, it seems, is just stall. Just fill time. And for the
crazy
players,
that che0nsu's still in
it's
this,
actually
frankly.
similar as well.
Yeah. Okay, Tom's gonna test for Explosive, Misdirection, and Freezing all in one. Knows it's not those three, so now he's worried about Snake, Pressure Plate, and Pack Tactics.
So I guess what you're setting up for is Glowfly, Soul of the Forest next turn, right? And so Mount Seller is just perfectly fine here.
Well, the Pressure Plate would have been... I was looking at Glowfly now, plus... But okay, sure, get the best target. Why not?
You're underestimating who's playing here, Gia.
It's true. I should never doubt. But that is a second invoke if he wants to put Galakron up to level 2 at the least. If the game is just about stalling.
The problem is, though, that if Deathwing is a genuine consideration here, then he wants to go Galakron this turn, Kronks next turn,
Right.
Deathwing on turn 10. And I think it is a genuine consideration here. I think it's probably his best shot back in.
Yeah, very well identified. The preemptive trade to play, or to set up for the Kronks rather, but Tom has the insurance policy loaded up.
Okay.
He has to tank 5 just to clear the first layer. It's like Backstab, the Mount Seller, Kronks, and then he goes down to 17. He's staring down 14 on the other side.
Yeah. I was wondering if he could get any like spells from the Lackey, but I mean obviously no freezes in Rogue, which is what he needs to even have a chance. No real AoE.
Looking for Taunt now, I suppose.
Yep.
But it's just not going to get there because Tom has the buffs. He has the Fog Beam. That is a complete show of dominance from Tom.
It's a devastating end for che0nsu. I think this was the bad timeline for him. He was showing real potential to turn things around here and bring things back after a mediocre mid-game to the round robin. I've been very impressed with him over the last couple of weeks, but sadly, that is the end of the road for our friend che0nsu, and it means that tom60229 Gia is going to be going on to the decider match up against Alutemu.
That is going to be super exciting to watch because all throughout the round robin, we did not get to see Tom face Alutemu. They were in separate divisions. And shout outs to che0nsu there. Nobody can contest him for being the most, the person who takes defeat the best in APAC.
Yep.
Least salt from che0nsu out of everyone. He was like, oh man, I didn't quite get that one. Who knows? Maybe in his head he's being salty, but he did not throw out a single round of applause for anyone. And that in itself is commendable for this region.
I mean, that would be pretty insane if he clapped for himself after going 3-0 and just stomping che0nsu. That would be next level tom60229. I think too much for even what we've come to expect. But it is, of course, going to be, as you said, tom60229 versus Alutemu. This is the last chance for Alutemu to join his fellow countrymen Glory and Possessi in the semi-finals, but it's also the chance for tom60229 to get through to the semi-finals, which in its own right would be an insane story after both Surrender and tom60229 were the two representatives last year from Asia-Pacific to go to the global finals, as it was at that point. We could have a repeat of that. One of those two players, again, could still be getting through. It could, I believe, even be our finals if it gets to that point. But first of all, we are going to let Tom have a chance to gather his thoughts, get ready for his very grueling match up against Alutemu. We'll be right back with the final match of Group B after this break.